Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors first. Now, these are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. You should be using them too. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. You're going to be very glad you did. Here we go. We'd like to say thank you to Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Huddle. You know, as a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Go to huddle.com, join the millions of users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We also want to thank Home Campus. Scheduling, rosters, results, communication, facility management. Home Campus does all of these things and more. Does it better, does it faster than the other platforms. Did I mention athletic eligibility and clearance? That one alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com to get started. We also want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade with their video boards, but their new content creation service takes it to a whole new level. Their talented team of writers and creators are going to come up with compelling narratives that you can then post on your school's social media, talking about your school's coaches, your kids, your history. You really have to see it to believe it. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Click on Content Services. You're going to be glad you did. We also want to say thank you to Gipper. Gipper is the modern marketing platform that makes it easy for you to showcase all the great things that your department, your kids, your coaches are doing. It's the #1 rated marketing platform for high school and college athletic directors. It's used and trusted by over 20,000 programs, and one of the reasons it's #1 are the thousands of professionally designed templates that help you promote your program. You can then customize these templates and your colors, your brands, your logos to create, share, and schedule all your social media. Go to Gipper.com. Your athletic department deserves to stand out. Speaking of #1, Booster Hub is the #1 Booster Club software program. And if you are doing anything to help your boosters out with volunteer signups, you know that volunteer changes go with the territory. Well, with Booster Hub, nothing falls through the cracks. Everybody stays connected and engaged. The same thing is true for sponsorship fees, concession sales. Booster Hub does it all. Give your boosters the platform they need. Give them the platform they deserve. And that platform is Booster Hub. We also want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through Ohio, but guess what? My assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others. And if you're looking for a program that is consistently rated at the top, a program where the graduates rave about the learning experiences and about the fact that they can complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge, then the Ohio University program is for you. Check out Ohio University's online masters in athletic administration. And speaking of #1, we want to say thanks to Hometown. Their platform continues to be a favorite with things like, well, they're the #1 digital ticketing provider for schools and colleges. They have fee-free fundraising with School Funder, athletic website construction. The solutions that Hometown offers just go on and on. Whether you're an athletic director, a head coach, even a principal, Hometown is going to show you how to save time. They're going to show you how to raise more money, and they're going to show you how to bring your entire community together. You'll find it all at hometown.com. That's hometown.com. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. If you're not using a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes, your coaches, even your parents, you're really missing out on a great opportunity. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that truly connects you with everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And with all of our sponsors, make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We are staying right here in Florida today, and our guest is going to be Joseph Teti. He is a certified master athletic administrator, and he's the director of athletics at Colonial High School, and that's part of the Orange County, think Orlando Public School District. Has a tremendous background as a coach, as a leader, as an AD, and we're excited to have him on the show. Joseph Teti, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
I appreciate you having me, saying my name right. You got it all.
Well, let's go and get started. For our listeners, we're recording this on July 10th, so it's going to be pretty timely as you listen to it. Coach, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us your quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. As I like to say, share your life story, maybe through college, in 2 minutes. What's the Joseph Teti origin story?
You know what? It's probably really similar to a lot of people listening to this. I grew up in Staten Island, New York, went to Tottenville High School. My dad retired from the NYPD. We moved down to Palm Beach when I was in 10th grade. So I finished up at Olympic Heights High School.
Oh, yeah.
Baseball player my whole life. That was, you know, I was a good student, but school was what I did to get to baseball practice. Uh, I'll be honest, nobody's listening, right? No, none of the teachers are here. Um, but ended up going to UCF, and the whole time I wanted to coach. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I have a brother that's 3 years younger than me. I have a sister as well. Um, my dad always coached our teams growing up, so we'd have my teams practice, and then I would help coach my brother's teams practice. From the time I was 7 or 8 years old. So that's always what I wanted to do. So studied PE at UCF, went right into teaching and coaching high school baseball. So that's pretty much the story. Funny thing is, I had no interest in becoming an AD at the time. People would ask, I was like, no, it's not. I just want to coach. I just want to coach. And when I was at Lake Nona Middle School, our AD there kind of showed me the ropes, and real quickly I said, "Oh, this is what I want to do."
Again, we're going to dive into all that. I always, first of all, I always, give a shout out, give props to people that say, hey, I'm a PE major, because you just don't hear that enough anymore. It's sport management, it's athletic administration, and those are great.
Yep.
But no, love the PE major. Let's go back to the growing up part while you were still in New York. Now, I've mentioned this a couple of times. I grew up in Oregon and did sports and backyard football and just everything.
Yep.
But one experience that my friends, my neighborhood just didn't have was wiffle ball. And I hear all these wiffle ball stories, backyards, and they're great. I see the videos on YouTube. You were a baseball guy. I got to assume wiffle ball was part of your
We played
growing up.
wiffle ball, stick ball. Actually, what was nice up there is whatever professional season was going on, that's pretty much what the neighborhood was playing. So, we'd play stick ball, we'd play baseball, football, wiffle ball, hockey was big. That was a disappointment when I moved down here. I brought my hockey stick, and I was the only one in the neighborhood that had one. But I was actually really lucky. The right across the street from my house was a church. They had a huge parking lot, and just the way the spaces were designed, it was a perfect football field one way. There was a gym on one side. We'd use the wall, put a box up there, and we'd play stick ball. And it couldn't have been better. I'd miss those days.
well, I'm glad you got to experience that as part of your childhood. As you started to grow, was travel and youth leagues part of your experience, or did that you have to wait till you got to middle school for that?
I could do a whole podcast just on that if you want. Um, Growing up, I played Little League. We had really, really good Little Leagues there. When I moved to Florida, everything was travel ball, so I didn't actually start playing travel till 10th grade. Now my own kids, they're 12, 11, and 8. There's kids in coach pitch that want to go play travel ball, and I tell them they're all crazy. But
Well, I played a couple years of little league. I just wasn't that good. Hitting the ball, and everything. I ended up getting into track, but um, as you were, climbing, let's say that athletic ladder, high school, and then you finished high school down here in Florida. Did you notice a big difference? Like were you top dog in New York, and then you were, the hotshot newcomer in Florida, or how did that play out for you?
you know what? I'm going to be the opposite of anybody else that answered that. I went to Tottenville High School in New York. They were every year in the state championship or real close. So I was happy to have a jersey. Okay. When I moved down, our team here was still very good, but that I actually got an opportunity to get on the field and, contribute a lot more than I did up in New York. So I know for most sports it's the opposite and it's a lot more competitive down here. I would say it's more specialized down here, though. When I was in New York, kids played three, four sports, no big deal. And when I moved down, it was like, nope, you're a baseball player, you're a football player, you're a basketball player, and that's what they did.
Yeah. Well, again, Florida, the weather, certainly for baseball, you can play it year round like you can't in other states unless
Correct.
you have access to that indoor stadium. But as ADs, we still love to see that multi-sport experience. As you were making the move to college, you said you always knew you wanted to coach at some point down the line. Were you still playing ball at that time, or had you moved on?
You know what? I had some older friends that had opportunities to play at junior colleges and, the smaller schools. And every one of them went for a year and they went to FSU and they went for a year, they went to UCF. And now I'm sitting down, I'm 5'5". I was a catcher. I was very good, but, Florida State was not in my future. So I said, I'm going to skip the jumping around. I loved UCF the second I went there. So I ended up playing on the club team, which I would say was probably the best experience playing ball in my life. Because it goes from the pressure of high school and practice every day and coaches breathing down your neck to just a bunch of guys that want to go out and play.
Yeah, again, sometimes the competitive aspect has had certain appeal. I think that's what draws us to sport. But at
Yep.
some point, it is fun just playing for fun. Um, as you were getting ready to graduate, did you have a job lined up? Did you end up, being a substitute teacher for a while? What was kind of, what's your recollection of those days getting ready to graduate?
I got very, very lucky. So my senior internship was actually at Colonial High School, where I am now. Um, got the assignment, called the school, talked to whoever I had to talk to get the internship set up, hung up, called back, said I need to talk to the AD, talked to her for a couple minutes. She hooked me up with the baseball coach. So during my internship, I was coaching baseball at Colonial. Um, they didn't have any jobs for 2 years. So I gotten lucky. One of the JV coach actually worked at an elementary school and he got me in there. So I did get a job, just not at the same school, which is its own set of challenges. And then, yeah, I got really lucky that, like I said, I went to a middle school that was great. And the principal there got moved of, all 23 high schools in Orlando. He gets moved to Colonial. So he brought me and the AD over and been there ever since.
Well, that's another great example of, taking the initiative to build your network, reaching out to the AD, getting hooked up with the coach. And, that's how a lot of things happen. And it's a great illustration of it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And so,
100%.
yeah.
That's one of the things I wrote down to talk about today.
Well, we're off to a great start. Let's go and take our first break. Once again, our guest today is Joseph Teti. He's a certified master athletic administrator, and he's the director of athletics at Colonial High School. Let's take that break, but we're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We'd like to say thank you to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. I want you to go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an athletic director was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile and their customer service just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, I'm telling you, all of our coaches just love the Huddle platform. Our student athletes love the videos, and our parents love the streaming, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com, join the millions of users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. And don't forget to tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast.
Man, really good timing there with that ad. I just had a meeting with Huddle yesterday. We've obviously football's used them for years. I had a couple sports using them, and they're going to hook me up with the full school breakdowns and video and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to get that one going.
Well, that is very cool. We're gonna have to get you back on to give us an update on the installation and the onboarding. Again, having worked with Huddle for years, when I was at McClay, again, you're gonna love it. They're just really really easy to work with, and I'm excited to hear about some of the feedback you get from your coaches, your student athletes, and your parents.
Yeah, me too. We have, like I said, a couple sports have used it, but this will be the first time we open it up to everyone. So looking forward to it.
Okay, well, I know you're gonna have a good time with that. For listeners, we're back with Joseph Teti. He is the director of athletics at Colonial High School, and that's here in Orlando, Florida. Joseph, you mentioned, the circumstances that you kind of helped create that got you initially at Colonial when you were, doing your internship and, helping coach baseball. Did you ever think at that time, hey, I'd like to be the AD of this school?
Definitely not. Like I said, at that time, it was I'm going to coach PE, I'm going to coach baseball. That was the career path. Um, and like I said, it all kind of came together because the people I worked with at the middle school kind of showed me what the AD path looks like. It was nothing I considered. Didn't, my dad always actually would say like, hey, maybe one day that I'm like, nope, nope, I just want to coach, and then the way it worked at the middle school, we had four sports. There were five PE teachers, and we all had a sport. But we all helped each other out,
Right.
obviously. I was coaching basketball there, so they didn't have baseball. But, during soccer season, I was helping set up the field. I was helping with tryouts and that kind of stuff. So you kind of see the ins and outs of how everything worked, and it really clicked right away for me. Maybe this is something I should look at.
And it had to be a good experience, hopefully a positive experience too, and a collegial atmosphere where you were all helping each other out with their sport, and then they're helping you out with your primary sport.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Share kind of the next steps of your journey. We're going to hear all about Colonial in our next segment, but you know, how did you go from being that young rookie teacher and coach to being the athletic director at Colonial?
So when our principal moved to Colonial, said he took the middle school AD. he called me up and he said, "Hey, I want you to come and be the assistant AD and, coach the baseball team. And, you're to teach PE, like everything like that. Yeah, that's everything I want. I'm in." Um, and that was actually perfect for me at the time because I got the best of both worlds, where I was still coaching, which is what I really wanted to do. But as the assistant AD, I was still really involved on that side. Um, so it was just a really good transition that when the AD retired, I was able to slide right in.
Um, we always use the expression as ADs, talking about coaches, but it can also be true for ADs too. The expression is you don't know what you don't know. Um, as you got, thrust into that, coaching position early in your career, what were some things you found out that you didn't know about being a head coach?
Oh, man. Well, listen, I know how to run a practice. I know how to set a lineup. I know when to change the pitcher. And what I tell new coaches now is all of that stuff is about 10% of the job. And I said, you got to learn the other 90 of, handling the families and ordering and setting your schedule and, the other million things that coaches are doing. Um, so that was definitely a crash course. When you get your first head coaching job, you always think you're ready, and it's all that extra stuff that you got to learn.
You're so right. We think about coaching. We as players we remember, just kind of that player experience. Hey, this is fun being an athlete, and you just don't understand all the details, the minutia that goes into being a coach. Um, when the opportunity came up to, when that opportunity included being the assistant AD, um, were you were you doing some administrative stuff, or was it more, setting up chairs and supervising games and that sort of thing?
Yes, it was all of that. A lot of the administratively, I was doing player clearance, going through grades and making sure everybody was cleared and eligible and all that kind of stuff. Um, Ordering buses, that administrative stuff. And maybe it's because I'm a baseball coach, but I tell everybody I'm a weirdo. I love taking care of the fields. A lot of the times, the best couple hours of my day is I'm going to shut the computer off. I'm going to hop on the mower and get that side going. So I always enjoyed that stuff.
Boy, I remember our baseball coach at McClay, great guy, and I loved him. But he was the exact same way. He'd be out there, on the field, and I'm just thinking, this is like, we're waiting for the game to start. This is like watching paint dry. As you're watering the infield again.
Hmm.
But yeah, is that in baseball coach's DNA?
I think it is. I think it's just a baseball coach thing. The anytime we'd go to a game, the first thing you're doing is looking at the grass, looking at the infield, going to talk to the other coach about it, and it it's just like an unspoken thing. No matter how it could look like Yankee Stadium, and
Hmm.
that coach is going to say, "Yeah, it's getting there.
Yeah,
It's getting there."
I love it. Boy, I'm getting goosebumps. You're making me remember that. Um, as your career is progressing. Okay, now, and I don't know the details, so I'm asking now. The opportunity to step into that head role is there. How did that develop? How did that present itself to you to become the athletic director at Colonial?
Yeah, I ended up being the assistant for 8 years. The AD that I came over with was a good friend, and it was never. I don't want to. I'm not a jumper. I was happy. I loved the school. I loved coaching. So, and I had taught us, listen, I'm just gonna sit here and do what I'm doing until you retire. And I knew he was getting closer to that milestone for him. Um, but yeah, for me, I was perfectly happy being the assistant. And then after 8 years, when he retired, it was just next man up and kind of keep it rolling.
Well, I want to take a deep dive into all things Colonial, but we're going to take another break before we do that. For our listeners, we're visiting today with Joseph Teti. He's a certified master athletic administrator, and he's going to tell us all about his school, Colonial High School in the Orange County School District. When we come back, this is the Educational AD Podcast. We'd also like to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. You know, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade with their video boards and technology, but their new content creation service, Beacon Creative, takes it to a whole new level. Their talented team of writers and creators, they're going to take your school's history, your coaches, your kids, and come up with compelling narratives that you can then post on your school's social media channel, maybe even on a Wall of Fame video board. You really have to see it to believe it. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and click on Content Services. You're going to be really glad you did. Let's also say thank you to Gipper. Gipper's the modern marketing platform that makes it easy for you to promote your kids, your coaches, your programs out in the community. Gipper's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college athletic departments. It's the #1 rated athletic marketing app. It's #1 in part because of the thousands of professionally designed templates that you can then customize with your colors, your brands, your logos. Create, share, and schedule all your social media content on one simple platform, and that platform is Gipper. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We also want to say thanks to Home Campus. Now, Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day for things like scheduling, rosters, results, communication with your coaches, communication with your state association. Do you schedule facilities? Home Campus does it better and faster than the other platforms. Did I mention athletic clearance and eligibility? Okay, that one alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com. Tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. That's homecampus.com.
All right, I don't want to sound like I'm getting paid for your advertisements here, but I'm not. But I need to call the vital signs people. So where you wanted to go with, things at Colonial, our school is being completely renovated right now. It's like a 3 to 5 year process, they said. Uh, and I keep looking at our athletes of the year and where they're hung up in the gym. We have a plaque, male and female, and the school's been open since the 60s. So those plaques are now running into different buildings. I need to find a better solution. So I got a phone call to make when we're done with vital signs.
Wow. Well, again, you're just going to love it, and they're going to blow you away with what they can do in that area and in other areas as well. So thanks for that shout out, and make sure you mention the podcast. Okay.
Will do.
Okay. Um, our guest today is Joseph Teti. He's the director of athletics at Colonial High School. Coach, you've been there for a while. But share a little bit about the school, things that you feel make it, that special place, and, maybe some interesting initiatives that you might have created while you're there.
Yeah, so the school, I said, it's been around since the 60s. It's one of the original schools in Orlando. And athletics wise, it has changed so much over the years. Orlando is now up to 23 high schools. Um, about 5 miles in any direction, you'll pass two other high schools. So it is, we got about 3,000 students now, which is still pretty big. But when you consider, like I said, there's multiple schools in every direction that have the same amount. So there's so many kids. Um, we trying to think like I would say our we have some teams, I want to come on here obviously and say how we're competing for state championships across the board and putting kids at all these D1 schools. We have some teams that have been incredibly successful. I always got to our girls basketball team is Elite Eight or better pretty much every year. The boys have been there. They're building the same direction. Um, and then we actually have some sports that it's a great opportunity for kids to play. They're not going to go out and win a district championship, but it's given kids an opportunity to compete after school where they wouldn't somewhere else. So that's really cool to see, and it actually leads to some really cool stories. Um, Actually, girl that won our athlete of the year this year, her first 2 years didn't want to play anything, just went to school, went home, and that was it. And, finally some coaches talked to her and she ends up playing volleyball. And she was, by her senior year, she was starting on the volleyball team, and doing really, really well. And then decides she wants to wrestle in the winter. Like, now I got involved in the fall, I want to do something else. And she ends up qualifying for the regional tournament in wrestling, her first year ever doing it.
Wow.
And then she decides, hey, what else can I do in the spring? I want to be involved. She plays lacrosse and sets school records for saves as the goalie. So, and of course we're all sitting there like, man, had we found her 3 years ago, she'd be all state. Um, but there it leads to a lot of stories like that of kids that didn't want to get involved. Like I said, they go to school, they do their 7 periods, they go home and they rinse and repeat. And you see the changes in those kids, when they get involved, they make new friends, they get the competitive side of it, and then all of a sudden they're getting an offer to go play at a JUCO somewhere, and continue their education. So it's really cool to see that kind of stuff.
You're so right. And again, we always say it's for the kids, and we help kids get better, and just getting them involved, getting them to take that step, having a program where they feel comfortable to do that, to take that risk. For them, it's safe. For a lot of kids, it's safer to not take that step. But obviously, your coaches have helped develop a culture there where those types of things are possible. Great story. You made me think of another question I want to ask. Having a big program like that, and some sports, and you know how it is. Some sports, like you said, your girls basketball, they're on top. They're on a roll. Your coaches, they know you're a baseball guy. What are some things that you do as an athletic director to make sure that all the teams, and I won't mention any, but let's say those, less publicized teams, the ones that don't get the big crowds, et cetera. How do you make sure that they know that you are supporting them just as much as you support the girls basketball, just as much as you support the baseball? Because they're always going to say, "Oh, Joe's a baseball guy," or the girls basketball. They get everything.
Hmm.
How do you make your coaches see that? Okay, that is not true.
All right. Well, I'll say this. I was a little smart. The first couple years not coaching baseball, I stayed away. And it was really tough because I hired my assistant who actually had played for me at Colonial. And so he's looking at me for help. And I said, dude, I can't be there. I said, because the kids on the field know me as Coach Teddy, not the athletic director. Like, it needs to be your program, go. So that helped a little bit, that I tried to stay away. Really the biggest thing, and this is something that I learned the first year, my principal, who is amazing, she loves pictures, because she wants pictures of every event, every kid, post them on social media, send them out on they call it the Colonial Connection. It's our weekly newsletter that goes to all the families. So I got really good, and I'm not one that grabs my phone and takes pictures, unless my kids are doing something. Um, but I got really good at getting pictures and putting it on Instagram, putting it on Twitter. And yeah, even if it's a tennis match and there's, you know, two moms sitting there in the crowd, it's still up there. It's still on the morning announcements. It's acknowledged that it happened and that our kids are doing well.
Yeah, that is something great, and the social media, and it's funny how you can have every team, every level, genders, you name it, and if you happen to miss that JV tennis team or whatever. One
One
time.
time that
Yeah.
that happens,
The
and
phone's ringing, the emails blowing up. They come to expect it, and that's great. That if that it shows that they're looking for that stuff. That's very cool.
yep,
We're going to do this at the end of the show, but I want to do it now too. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more about how you run a big program, how you run a successful program. What's the best way that our listeners can connect with Joseph Teti?
yeah, and please do if you want to. But email is going to be the easiest way. Joseph Joseph dot Teddy is Teti at OCPS Orange County Public Schools dot net.
And Joseph's information is also available for our NIAAA members on the NIAAA membership portal. So don't forget to check that out. We're going to take another quick break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we are going to come back with more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We'd like to say thank you to Booster Hub, the #1 Booster Club software application. If you spend any time working with your booster club, you know that volunteer signups and volunteer changes come with the territory. Well, with Booster Hub, nothing falls through the cracks. Everybody stays connected and engaged. The same thing is true with concession sales and sponsorship fees. Booster Hub does it all. Give your boosters the platform they need, give them the platform they deserve, and that platform is Booster Hub. Go to boosterhub.com to get started. We also want to say thank you to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but guess what? My assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others. And while they were earning their degree through a top rated program, they're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. And speaking of #1, we want to say thanks to Hometown. They're still the leading digital ticketing provider for schools and colleges, but Hometown also offers fee-free fundraising through School Funder, athletic website construction. The list of Hometown solutions just goes on and on. Whether you're an athletic director, a head coach, even a principal, Hometown is going to show you how to save time. They're going to show you how to raise more money, and they're going to show you how to bring your entire community together. You'll find it all at hometown.com. That's hometown.com. And guess what? Tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Joseph, I've mentioned a couple of times, you're a certified master athletic administrator. That doesn't happen by accident. Can you share with our listeners how you first found out about the NIAAA and the leadership training program, how you got involved with the FIAAA here in Florida?
Yeah, and I'm really glad I did. When I first became the assistant AD, I was talking to another coach that was at Colonial, that was working on his CAA. So he kind of told me about it, and I looked into it, and I was like, "Hey, these classes are online. Let me check them out." And it was one of those things. But let me just go through one today. Let me go through one another day. And I got my CAA pretty quickly, when I became the assistant AD at Colonial. Um, and I honestly I kind of left it at that for a while. I would go to conferences, and if there was something that would be interesting, I would take the class. But I didn't really dive into it and really know how good those classes were, until I took over as the AD. Um, I would say our county athletic director, Lonnie Flores, is amazing, and he really pushes all of us, like, go to the conferences, take these classes, learn, get better. So okay, and I just I went to the FIAAA, and took two classes that year, and then I went to nationals and took two more, and that's kind of been my schedule. Is every time the conference comes up, I take at least two. Um, I'm actually really excited now that I've finished the CMAA, because now it's not looking at okay, I need a 600 level class, and so I can look down the list and say I could use that could help me. I'm going to go take that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward now that the project's done and approved and all that.
Yeah, it's funny how it's the process of, well, I need this course versus, well, yeah, I want this course. And you're right, all the courses are great on their own merit. They've got something to add. Um, I'm always curious, when you first started taking those courses. Again, you mentioned taking them online, but there's usually it's one of two, and sometimes both at the same time responses. Boy, this is really great stuff. I need to bring it back to my school. The other one is, we're not doing any of this stuff. We're in big trouble. Which one of those feelings describes your early experience?
Yes. Again, yes. So definitely I end up sitting there taking notes, going, oh shoot, I need to do this. And then I think my coaches can tell when I took a class because all of a sudden something else is coming up. I'm like, where'd this come from? Um, but I'll say what I really have done the last few years is, like I said, I'm probably taking 3 or 4 classes a year before between the two conferences. At least one of the classes each year is going to be like, okay, that's what we need to do. And I kind of make it a focus for the next school year. So a couple years ago, I took, I think it was 727, and it was about like leadership with students. And I went back and I made a 20-30 minute PowerPoint. Um, and a lot of it is showing the team, showing the players that a lot of what you're doing, you control. You know, you go compete against another team, and yeah, they may have more God-given talent, and maybe there's nothing you can do to beat that team, you know, but also working hard at practice, going to the weight room and, giving your best effort and doing, listening to your coaches and all that stuff that coaches want is all controllable. So what I started doing was right after tryouts, right around when you would do a parent meeting, I met with every single team, and I kind of went through this PowerPoint. Like I said, it was a lot of be accountable for what you're doing, and hey, you can control if you come to practice and work hard today. That has nothing to do with your talent level. And if you do all these things, and I said, hey, if you're a 10 win talent team and you do all these other things, hey, you're probably going to win 13, 14 games. If you have 10 win talent and you don't do any of that stuff, don't be surprised when you win 5 games. And then so actually this year I'm going to focus on what I learned in your class at FI AAA with the coaches professional development side, and a lot of it is going to be framed as you want your players to do all this extra stuff, you want them in the weight room, you want them on a team in the off season and playing and getting better. What are you doing to get better? And in your class we talked a lot about the different resources that are available, as simple as going on YouTube and finding a new drill, going to a coach's clinic, reading an article by a college coach, whatever it is. And like I said, if we expect the players to get better, then as coaches we got to do something to get better too.
Boy, great advice. And it's not like, I came up with that stuff originally. I mean, it's part of the NIAAA course, but I love teaching that course, love sharing with others and hearing some of the great suggestions from, people like you and the other members of the class that can add to our knowledge base, or as I like to say, add to that toolbox. Okay. Talking about professional development, you mentioned one way that you deliver it to your constituents, your coaches, and your kids. For your CMAA, I think for athletic directors who have not gone through the experience, it can be a kind of a foreboding thing. Oh gosh, I don't know if I can do that. Having gone through it, it's a pretty cool experience. So, can you share a little bit about what your CMAA project was with our listeners?
It really was a great experience. I decided to do the written project. I knew if I, did an oral one, I would go off on a tangent and end up somewhere else. So I did the written one. Um, and it was all on the class I told you about that I did with my teams. And just kind of broke down what it was, what I learned in the LTI class that, that helped create it. Um, just kind of the steps we would take, to try to push everything forward with the kids. And I think a real, for the people listening, um, one of the things that we did with it was I got lanyards made up that say Colonial Athletics Leader. Um, I think they were about 50 cents each. Okay, so it's not a big expense, but I would tell them at the end of this meeting that, like, hey, we have these and we're going to give them out not because you hit a home run, not because you scored a touchdown, but when we see something that shows that you're doing what we want you to do leadership wise, you're going to earn one. And it's not something to hold your keys. It is, it's a badge, put it on your book bag, whatever, you walk around and people see that you earned that. Um, and I'll share the first one I gave out was actually to a sophomore football player that never, ever, ever saw the field. Um, I was actually at morning duty, and he kind of came up to me and he saw one of our special needs students that needed some help. He was in a motorized wheelchair, and I think he got stuck kind of on the other side. Um, but he came up to me and another coach, like, let us know, so we can go help this kid out. And I went to football practice that day, kind of stopped practice. Everybody come here. I shared the story, gave him his lanyard. And honestly, in my head for the first one, I'm like, I hope, the kids are into this and kind of get it. But they were pumped for the kid. It was a really good first experience with it.
Oh, wow. That is such a great story. Very cool. And for our listeners, if you're thinking about that CAA or CMAA, reach out to your state. Every single state has a certification coordinator. And here in Florida, it's Scott Drabsig, does a great job. He's part of our FIAAA board. I was certification coordinator for many years before I retired, and I still help ADs on that journey. So reach out to your state first. You've got a state coordinator. If you want some additional feedback, please feel free to reach out to me. Would love to help you out. Coach, this has just been really cool seeing you again and finding out more of your journey. But we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Just got done mentioning that. You certainly have shown you know your way around the world of athletics. So we're going to take a quick break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. And when we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new AD on their first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 tools in the toolbox. So let's take that break, and when we come back, we're going to find out what Joseph Teti puts in his new athletic director toolbox. We'd like to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. In my schools, we use surveys for just about everything. For our student athletes, we used them for our coaches. We also used them for our parents. And here's the cool thing. The feedback that we got, almost always over the top positive. I'm sure it'll be the same for you. But going back to that parent feedback, the surveys also allowed us to connect with our squeaky wheel parents. And we got to find out what their concerns were, usually address them before they turned into something big. But that positive feedback, incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, sometimes your principal, sometimes even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And as always, make sure you tell our sponsors you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Joseph Teti. He's a certified master athletic administrator. He's the director of athletics at Colonial High School right here in Florida, Orlando, Florida. Tremendous background as a leader, as a coach, and as an athletic director. But right now, it's his turn to send out a brand new AD on their first job. So, Joseph, what 3 tools are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
Okay, so I got a couple. Like I said, we kind of hit on a few of them already that I was prepared for because I've been listening and I knew this was coming. But the first thing I said is the those LTI classes, get involved. And if you can do them online, they're great, but you're not getting the interaction as much. Every class I've taken, I've met somebody from somewhere else that, I've stayed in contact with. Reach out to the instructors. I mean, that's why I'm here today. I took your class, sent you an email, and next thing you know, here we got an invitation to do the podcast. But even the classes that you don't think, are really gonna help you. I took one on AstroTurf. I don't have turf, not getting turf. It's not going to happen for me. But I still, the instructors are, county ADs, and there's an assistant county AD in there, and you're still learning things that you can take back. So I think that it was really important. And I learned, like I said, when I was an assistant, I took a few online, and it was cool. I'm learning things. But when you go to the conference and you get in the room, you're really, the conversation can go anywhere, and you end up bringing a lot back to your school. So I like that as my first tool of get involved, meet other people, which kind of goes into the second one. We talked about networking a lot. Um, you know, I'm lucky in Orlando. We have 23 high schools. Um, I can call any of the other 22 ADs with a question, and they'll help me out. But I would say learn who's good with what. Of those 22 ADs in the room, I know if, the grass isn't growing right, I know that I can call these two people. If I have a state rule question, that this is the person I need to call. And they all do the same with me. I get calls from everybody and help out anybody I can. Um, I I have a group chat pinned on my phone to the top with two ADs that would be our rival schools. Okay, one of them is they're the school that if you go 1-9 in football and you beat them, it's okay. Okay, and I talk to him every single day, um, about life, random friend stuff, or he's newer to the room, so he'll call me all the time with questions, and I don't care that he's the rival school. I'm gonna help him. And if I need something, I know I can go to him. So those were the two that we kind of talked about. The other one I had, I kind of did this as the baseball coach, and because you all know the list of things to do is never ending. You check one thing off and three more get added. So what I always did with the baseball field was I said every day I'm going to do one thing to improve the field. And it could be as simple as, I'm going to go get a new extension cord for the pitching machine, whatever, up to major projects. So I've kept that as an AD. Every day I try to do one thing that will help one of the coaches. Okay. And it could be, okay, softball has a game today. After lunch, I'm going to go out and line the field. Okay. So he shows up, he's been in class all day long, showing up to the game, and he's got 40 things to do. And he sees, oh, the field's already lined. Check. Or I got 10 minutes. Let me go drag the baseball field real quick, knock that off so he doesn't have to do it before practice. And I think it's good for everyone. He said the coach is happy he came and something's checked off and done for him, and for me, it's really good for your sanity. Okay. You're sitting at the computer, you're doing all the administrative stuff, and it's, hey, I can take 20 minutes, go help somebody, put my headphones in and relax for a couple minutes, and then come back refreshed. I think everybody wins.
Well, I'm writing all these down, and they're all great ones. I love them all, but I'll start with your last one. I was debating about whether or not to put it in the organization category, but I think I'm going to put it in the unique tool category. I don't know if anyone's phrased it that way before. Certainly being a servant leader is its own separate category, but
Hmm.
doing one thing each day, I just love the focus of that, and taking the LTI courses. building your network. Again, great tools, classic tools. They're part of the tools for success. But thanks so much for contributing your tools for success today. And one more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and build their network or connect, find out some more tools, what's the best way our listeners can connect with Joseph Teti?
Yes, and please do, because like I said, I've had random conversations. I'm not asking a question, and somebody sends me something great that makes my life easier. So hopefully, I can help somebody out there. But my email is Joseph Joseph dot Teti Teti at ocps.net.
Well, Joseph, thanks again for coming on with us and sharing with our listeners. All the best for a continued, hopefully, a relaxing summer and a great fall season. We're definitely going to have to bring you back maybe in the spring for an update, see how things are going.
Anytime, man. I really appreciate it. Definitely enjoyed it.
For our listeners, we enjoy you tuning in and want to say thanks and also remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.